battle for international sport's oldest trophy has reached its final weekend in Bermuda. After 5 weeks of at times thrilling competition, just 2 teams are left vying for a cup, born in Britain 166 years ago. They call it the greatest race on water, but in the first weekend of the America's Cup match between Oracle Team USA and Emirates Team New Zealand, it was all one-way traffic.
So here we go, this is what everybody has been waiting for. Jimmy Spithill's Americans defending their crown against Peter Burling's New Zealanders. The match is on.
Oracle's very close to the start and even struggling to keep off of it.
Americans are away, but they have a penalty right at the outset. Emirates Team New Zealand, who are flying up on their foils and already reaching speeds of 30 knots plus.
They're using their legs and Oracle's using their arms.
New Zealanders really capitalizing on that start line penalty, just stretching away.
They're coming in fast right now, really fast.
The New Zealanders have made a storming start to the America's Cup match, wiping out that 1-point advantage that the USA had. Both are across the line now.
Acceleration contest now. Who's up on their foils and who can accelerate the quickest?
So the Americans having to play catch-up, and this was not really part of the game plan, or part of theirs anyway.
The Kiwis are doing whatever they want at will in those radical turns sometimes.
The way they throw those bows round. Peter Burling and Emirates Team New Zealand, what a start to their match. A blistering opening. 2 wins from 2.
That was really fun yachting out there. Felt like our boat was going really fast.
Good news is we're only 1 back.
The speed of both of these boats, excellent. Jimmy Spithill this time is straight across the mark, no penalty. 40 knots of boat speed from the American team.
There they go. They're going to jibe early and try to split and use their speed. Really a critical time in the race. Not a perfect jibe by Oracle Team USA. Watch for the wing wash of Emirates Team New Zealand. They win the first battle. Oracle is trying their hardest to try to create a bit of a situation on the race course.
But 700 meters. Might as well be in the next country. Upwind, downwind, doesn't seem to make too much of a difference to them. And right now, the Kiwis are hammering the Americans. 4 races, 4 wins. They are cleaning up.
Now our team's really hungry to keep learning, keep moving forward, keep improving. As we know, if we stand still, these guys will be catching us.
It's pretty obvious these guys are faster, and we need to make some serious changes. I think these next 5 days will be the most important 5 days of the campaign.
By virtue of winning the first round of America's Cup qualifying here in Bermuda, Oracle took a bonus point into the series. So, although New Zealand won all 4 races last weekend, their lead is 3-0 going into race 5. It's fantastic sailing conditions out on the Great Sound, and there's much anticipation. Have Oracle done enough in 5 days to catch the Kiwis? Well, let's see. Let's join our commentary team of Alistair Eakin and Ken Reid.
So race number 5 is underway, and we get our first chance to analyse just exactly how Jimmy Spithill's Americans have changed things. Have they come up with any answers to the speed and the consistency of Burling's New Zealanders? Ken, how are you reading this pre-start?
Well, both boats again are tracking back to the starting line quite early. 45 seconds to go, and you'll see that starting line at the top of our screen. Team New Zealand taking solace down at that ley line. That yellow line is about as close as they ever want to get. They've gotten down there, and Oracle cannot hook anymore. They're going to be committed to the high side.
14 to kill.
We're talking about 14 to kill. This is still a lot of time to kill for these 2 boats. Oracle just speeding up the line with 17 seconds left. Now they're slowing down. This is going to be about time and distance.
So the Americans picked up a penalty on the start line in the first race of the match. They'll be needing to be very careful here. They're perilously close as the clock ticks down. They are across the line too early. Yet again, they've gone too soon. And the New Zealanders will look to make hay in the meantime. Oracle Team USA have to drop 2 boat lengths behind the Kiwis. So advantage New Zealand yet again at the start.
That was very, so, you know, In the first race that Oracle Team USA was over early, they were just close, they were tight, they got themselves into a tough spot. That was just pulling the bow down too soon and simply going for it with a fraction of a second not in the bag. I mean, that was super close. I'm sure we'll see a review of that, but that was very close. But man, would Jimmy Spithill like that one back.
Screaming across the water then, up on the foils at 30+ knots. And the Kiwis in front at Mark 1. They're close to 40 knots with a wind speed of only 8.5 knots. So it really gives you some kind of indication as to just how much pace can be generated by these flying machines. And we're going to reel out that stat again, Ken. The New Zealanders, when they are first to the first mark, have a 100% success rate in the races.
100%. And that goes all the way back to the very first race that they sailed in the Challenger Trials in that ladder contest early on. And yeah, it's not a great stat if you're an American fan. There's no doubt about that. But
so both teams driving near the boundary. This is the replay of the start line.
There's the start. That red line is the start line. Obviously, an imaginary line right there. You're going to see Oracle Team USA just a fraction early. My goodness. And remember, this isn't done by the naked eye. These boats are now too fast. This is done electronically in a back room to, I believe, measurements within a centimeter of accuracy of the four corners of the boat. So there's somebody sitting in a dark, dingy room making this decision, and not necessarily a human out on the race course.
So into gate 2 with the New Zealanders out in front and able to dictate a little bit. What's the decision going to be here from the USA? They're going to follow them around the mark. They've opted not to split the course.
Oracle's kept it close. Remember, by the first gate in the first couple of races, there was quite a wide gap.
It's an attack from the Americans. Not the cleanest of maneuvers. You see the bows plunging down a little bit into the water. They seem to have recovered decently enough as the Kiwis go about their business in their usual slick, crisp fashion.
That radical turn speed that we've become very used to. But I'll tell you what, when we talked to Freddie Carr in the pre-start, we'll go back to him in a minute here. He thinks he sees something. Believe me, these guys that do this every single day, like Freddie has over the last couple of years, they see things that we clearly don't see. There is no doubt that Oracle has worked very hard to lighten their boat this past week. There's a maximum weight limit and a minimum weight limit that are about 100 kilos apart. And they supposedly have worked very hard to get down to the minimum end of that weight limit. You know what? This is boat speeds and VMG up the race course that we haven't seen out of Oracle.
Some encouraging signs for Jimmy Spithill's crew.
Dial down. So starboard tack advantage to Oracle. Dial down. Emirates Team New Zealand has to dip behind. The first pass we've seen in this event.
A seminal moment, and the Americans will be absolutely thrilled to see it. Their support on the shore will have spent a very, very anxious few days knowing that they're up against the clock, really. Those 5 days that they had to tweak and adjust, has it been enough?
Engineers, fans, designers, sailing team, families, they're waiting for that moment right there. That this 5 days of work, was it worthwhile? And sure enough, they're quicker right now. There's no doubt.
So let's have another word with Freddie Carr out on the water for us. Freddie, we've seen the Americans move in front. Is it clear and obvious to you that the changes have worked? Can we say that yet?
Yeah, I think you can say that for sure. Oracle are faster through the water. There's two standout things to me right now as I was right in next to Oracle then. They're not dropping their dagger board all the way down to extension, so they're effectively not going all the way to extension as that opens up the angle, that makes the board faster. Another dial down here. New Zealand dial them down, Oracle take the transom, And the other thing is their rudders look really different to me, a step closer to New Zealand's rudders.
Getting Freddie excited out on the water. 2 passes early in the race. Thank you, Freddie, by the way. 2 passes already, both on starboard tack advantages. 2 very equal boats. Both boats protesting on that last dial down. My guess is we're going to have a green again. There won't be any flags. Tell you what, though, the umpires are taking their sweet time talking about this one.
He's got a penalty.
So protests have been lodged, and the Americans have picked up the penalty. Second of the race. How costly might that be? This is where it happened.
Dial down. They determined that Emirates Team New Zealand, the starboard tack boat there, had to get out of the way. Boy, these guys, you can just see on board, these guys didn't think they did anything wrong, but they have to drop back another 2 boat lengths.
Stand by, keep the speed on.
Graphic bottom left of your screen giving you a clear picture of exactly where they are on the course currently. Third leg of 7. Those include the 2 reaches at the start and to the finish.
So here's the replay. Oracle Team USA. What happens there is that Emirates Team New Zealand gets to go perpendicular to the wind, so essentially right across that line, that football line that's in that imaginary line. They had another 10 degrees to bear off. They didn't bear off that 10 degrees. I think the umpires probably said New Zealand could have gone further, but they couldn't have because Oracle was in the way. That's a touch and go one. Maybe we can get to Richard Slater at some stage in the broadcast and he can explain.
On board the American boat.
Okay, very rambling. Big pump. High group. Hey, stand by. High group all the way. Yeah. Go all the way to boundary. Yeah. 3, happy. 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, mate.
So one last tack into the gate. They should lay the gate from there, both of these boats, and the New Zealanders beginning to stretch out in front. That second penalty that the Americans picked up really costing them on the latter part of this leg.
Super costly and very hard to burn a penalty without burning too big a penalty. If you come off your foils when you're trying to burn a penalty, it can be catastrophic. But there's still not. This is that one mistake range that we always talked about. That 150 meters, one mistake, and that gets eaten up in no time. Oracle's going to have to tack one more time for this mark, I think. Emirates Team New Zealand did a very nice job of finding the ley line, one and in. Oracle had to tack because of the boundary, most likely, and they're going to probably have to tack one more time. Creates a split, but this is a costly maneuver.
There they go, one more maneuver. We have seen repeatedly through the month of racing out here on the Drake Sound. Sometimes that is all it takes. Sometimes that is just the difference between the 2 boats. Just elongates the course a little bit. They have to sail a further distance, and New Zealanders' lead now a pretty healthy one.
Going back out on the water to Freddie. Freddie, give us an idea of the wind shifts right now. We always get caught up in the boat speed and the maneuvering, but give us a little weather profile out there in the water.
Yeah, I'd say it's not too shifty, Ken, but the thing that stands out to me is how patchy it is. It's never above 10 knots, but there's some quite big holes on the race course. And in the second half of that upwind, not only did Oracle get a penalty, but they just sailed in slightly less pressure than the New Zealanders coming in. So they took the 2 boat length loss with the penalty, but we're just a little bit softer in pressure. But there's opportunities out there for the tacticians to join the pressure knots together and for Tom Slingsby to close this game right down.
Leave the jib. Everything oil. Okay, it's coming up. That way, steer, Langer.
Copy. Jimmy Spithill spinning those handles on the wheel. You wonder if that wrist injury is making any effect on how he controls the dagger boards.
But perhaps as expected, he kind of batted away the question when asked pre-race. Didn't want to dwell on that. It wasn't going to make a difference to him, he felt. Certainly that's the image he has to project. Perception is very often more important than reality, Ken, in those situations.
That arm could be literally hanging off the socket, and he wouldn't know the difference at this stage. It doesn't matter. This is the Super Bowl. This is it.
So one more maneuver from the Americans, which we discussed at the top of the gate.
Average VMG, very interesting. Goes to New Zealanders a little bit, but that takes into account, remember, they had to slow down a couple times on Oracle Team USA, so it's probably a little bit deceiving. Most of this lead that they lost, and by the way, a bad jibe, probably in a light air zone by Oracle Team USA, they're having at the bottom of the screen to do a radical course change to try to get the speed up again. Those jibes are devastating when they drop back down in the water. It's so hard to get the boat back going again. Back to Freddie Carr for a second. Freddie, are you surprised to see these guys all sailing with their Code 2 jibs or their kind of medium heavy air jibs today rather than the light jibs?
Yeah, I must say I'm a little bit surprised by that. But on the first week, Kenny, we know it's about getting to Mark 1 first, and for Oracle, for them to try and defend and keep the New Zealanders behind. And effectively, you've got less sail area, and it makes you faster on the reach. So you take a small punishment on the windward leewards to try and be faster on the reach.
Got it.
Breezes 221.
There's a shot from our drone, chasing in behind the Kiwis.
We are trying to get the drone driver to get it between those hulls right off the water. They're a little skeptical.
We said in the challenge.
Right.
One or two people are a bit anxious about that, I imagine, in terms of the safety factor, and there might be a small financial factor involved too.
If you're an Oracle fan right now, you take a lot of solace in the fact that there is no question they're quicker. You have to eliminate these tough maneuvers, though. Here's the bad jibe. They might have gotten a little slow going into it. They splash down, and just once in this light air, you splash down both hulls. They are glued to the water, and what was it, a 200-meter lead turns into a 400-meter lead in no time.
Well, he's full of fighting talk, Jimmy Spithill. Let's not forget, 4 years ago in San Francisco, he led the comeback from 8-1 down. And he knows what it takes. But he is getting himself into a pretty sizable hole at this point. For all the chat, for all the confident talk, he knows that these guys have a fast boat and a very slick system. We're seeing Simon van Veldhoven. He's the Olympic cyclist from 2012. Head down.
Yeah, room around town, he actually hasn't seen any race yet. On board the boat. On Peter Burling's shoulder there briefly.
Breezes 227.
So the Kiwis bossing it at the moment and seemingly heading for another victory. It would be 5 in a row on the Drake Sound in the America's Cup match. They would be so well placed as they bid to win back this trophy. They were victorious, of course, in '95 and in 2000, and they are desperate to bring it back to Auckland, bring it back to the North and South Island and the 4.5 million people or so there who are craving this success.
It's interesting, in this race in particular, the Kiwis' success have really been in more classic match racing situation, not necessarily the boat speed that we've been seeing. They won the start. The other guy was over early. They won the dial down. The other guy got a penalty. So it's really fascinating that what everybody in the world thought was going to be the weakness of the Kiwis in this particular race has clearly been a strength.
So the cycles have obviously commanded a lot of attention, and we know that it is a very efficient system of pushing the hydraulic power around and generating the energy required for all these different maneuvers. And there, of course, is Glenn Ashby with his little gaming console.
He's controlling all the wing. And what's interesting is you see the wing very rarely go in and out in a radical way. He's really controlling the twist and the camber much more reactively than the other teams have been able to do. He doesn't have a winch. He is not ever on a winch. He doesn't touch a rope.
And we've discussed it before, Kenny, but also what seems to be clear is they have this brilliant division of labor so that no one man is overburdened with responsibilities and decision-making.
That's right. We all talk about the power, and we'll get into the power a little bit more and how they're accumulating and using the hydraulic energy. But listen, the windage and the ability for the cyclists to use their hands to help do other parts of the boat, help maneuver other parts of the boat, is clearly a huge byproduct of the cyclers that gets far less attention. The cyclers are obvious, but what Blair Tuke is doing right there with all those buttons, he's controlling all the positioning of the foil there, I think with a joystick. He's looking at the camera going, oh no, they got me, they caught me.
But just look at the almost surgical way in which they maneuver and manipulate their boat. Barely seen them making an error in the America's Cup match as a whole. They have been very, very consistent. The USA now have a huge amount of work to do. New Zealand heading downwind for the final time in the race. Just the blast reach to finish after that.
These guys look slick though, and Freddie, I think we see longer tips on the Oracle boat. I think we see longer tips and certainly more of an angle, more of an aggressive angle, something similar that we've seen on the Kiwi boat throughout this whole event.
You're right there, Ken. I think their medium tips, they look like they're medium tips with an extension on. As I mentioned earlier, the board doesn't look all the way down, so effectively canting the board out a little bit more, getting a step towards that aggressive angle the Kiwis have got. I heard you talking about the wing setup on New Zealand. We've just followed them upwind, and it is mind-blowing how dynamic the top two flats are. I've heard about it talked a lot. I've never been close enough, and it is a constant movement. Glenn Ashby, it's like a hummingbird wing coming in and out, and when that mode is locked in, it looks seriously impressive.
Well, we got you the ringside seat today, Freddie.
Yeah.
Bet you wish you had that a couple of weeks ago.
Maybe a couple months, maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah, doing a lot of learning right now.
Thank you, Freddie. You know, you guys with your incredible accents and great phrases, I have not heard hummingbird wing in a long time when reference to any sort of a sailboat or a...
That's why he's out there. You better prepare the ground, Ken. Prepare your chair.
Yep.
For the new man in town.
Come on in.
And it is so straightforward, seemingly. When you're Peter Burling, nothing is complicated. 26-year-olds, entirely unflustered, taking a wonderfully uncomplicated approach to this whole campaign.
Right until he soaks all of his friends in the high side there. But we keep repeating this, and you have to, 100%. We're still at 100%, these guys. First mark first, 100% of the time they go on to win the race.
And just take a look at exactly where they are in contrast to the Americans. We've seen some big margins of victory, and the Americans now down at 7 knots of boat speed. They're in all kinds of bother.
Okay, Guy.
Yeah. Another bad jibe on board USA. You have to head up so high to get the breeze, that apparent wind back forward again. I still have 8 or 9 knots, but you can see the holes. We're looking over our monitors out onto the race course. You can see the holes on the race course, and Oracle happens to be in a big one right now. Hole meaning light air versus the darker spots in the water where the puffs are.
Well, having a great day, the Kiwis. The All Blacks victorious over the British and Irish Lions early this morning in Auckland in the first Test match. And thousands of New Zealanders here in Bermuda enjoying yet another success, another hammer blow delivered by the Kiwis. They have powered into a 4-0 lead in the America's Cup match. They need 3 race wins to the trophy, and the dominance continues. You've got to ask yourself at this point, just what on earth can the USA do to hold their momentum?
But this time around, this match was about, this race was about mistakes. We've heard Jimmy Spithill come back in and say, you know what, we felt okay. And all of us used our eyeball test and said, wait a second. You guys, those last weekend, you guys look pretty slow to all of us, all the rest of us in the real world. Today, I'm not so sure. I think they come in and say, you know what, you guys, we were quick. We were quick on the first reach. We made a mistake. We caught them twice. We made a mistake. And then all of a sudden, the wheels kind of fell off. I think they're way more in the game than they were last weekend.
Well, we'll try and get a view from Jimmy Spithill shortly to discover if he's feeling confident and positive in the same manner, but the margin of victory is another big one. It's pretty quiet out there. Is this a team reassessing? Is this a team digesting the margin of victory for the New Zealanders?
Right up there, boys, and get ready for the next one.
Yeah, they've got to go big in the next one because this match is getting away from them.
I think we're going to try a little more out, eh? They're going at times. Yeah.
Talking about you happy with the rudders. They're going at times. That means they're probably stalling or cavitating a little bit at times. They can move that rake around a little bit. There's a finite amount that can go between the 2 rudders. I believe it's 3.5 degrees, but they'll do some fine-tuned detailing to try to gain a little more speed going into this next race.
So across the finish line and plunging down, but beyond 2 minutes from the Kiwis. That's the biggest margin so far for all their extra boat speed, if that is what they seem to have found. So confirmation of the Kiwi victory. 2 minutes and 4 seconds quicker than Oracle Team USA in race 5. They've won 5 from 5. And of course, let's not forget that the Americans effectively put their opposition on -1 at the outset because they won the qualifying stage. That's why the Kiwi lead is 4-0.
A difficult start to the day for Oracle Team USA, but in a positive note, they were much quicker. Those 5 days in the shed have made a considerable difference, but they are not sailing well. And at 4-0 down, Jimmy Spithill and his team have a lot to think about. There may be no British interest in the cup match itself after Ben Ainsley's team was knocked out in the semi-finals. But there was reason to cheer earlier this week when their academy team won the Youth America's Cup in dramatic style. Going into the final day, BAR, made up of 6 sailors aged between 18 and 24, sat on top of the 8-strong leaderboard. Switzerland and Team France were just behind. But defending champions New Zealand mounted an impressive last-minute comeback, taking 2 wins before the final race. To take overall victory, the New Zealanders needed to keep 3 places between them and the British. And as BAR Academy trailed the field in the final race, a Kiwi victory was on the cards. As they took their 3rd win, New Zealand believed they'd done enough. But in a bizarre twist, Team Germany hit the final mark, slowing others down in the process. The British sailed around the outside to finish 2nd, enough to take the overall victory.
Our second day was certainly not our first day. On the first day we were very consistent, we had very good results all across the board, and the second day we didn't manage that, but we fought back in every race. The one thing to take out of this is you must never give up the whole way until the finish line.
I think it all came down to the hard work that we've put in before these 2 days. No one can win a championship just on 2 days, and it's the year-long work that we've put in, but also everyone behind the scenes back at the Land Rover BAR base that really made the win for us.
New Zealand helm Pete Burling lifted the Youth Cup 4 years ago. Right now he's aiming for the Old Mug itself. Let's rejoin Ken and Alistair for race 6.
USA against New Zealand, Spithill against Burling, the defenders in some trouble now. Last chance today to rescue the situation.
Yeah, really interesting move by Burling. He spun around, almost a traditional match race move there. Almost like he was going to follow, but he's going to get hooked, quite possibly, by Jimmy Spithill. They got slow after that maneuver. Spithill desperately trying to get an overlap underneath Emirates Team New Zealand. 35 seconds to go back to the line.
So this is Spithill's attempt to disrupt, to attack, and to get in the face of the Kiwis, cause trouble.
But New Zealand got around the front of them. He never was able to get that overlap, and sure enough, he's going to have to gap off and go for a time and distance start. That was very well done by Burling. It looked marginal there for a second. And he did enough to keep his speed and keep the overlap from happening, and now it's just time and distance, boat speed to Mark 1.
So it looks like both boats are going to be across the line clean this time, and the Americans getting up on the foils nice and quick, and they've stolen a march this time on the New Zealanders. Could this be the time? Just they reach Mark 1 in front.
Yeah, did a better job of pulling the trigger there, no doubt about it. Had a little more momentum going off the line, and I think they're going to be able to roll over the top of Emirates Team New Zealand and use their wing wash to push them back a couple more boat lengths. But I'll tell you what, it's still close. Emirates Team New Zealand living in a really precarious spot right there. Just below the wing wash. You see that wing wash? They are just barely living in clear air, but sure enough, Oracle gets over the top.
So that's a turnaround. That is a change from the complexion of things out here in Bermuda during the America's Cup match so far. Oracle Team USA rounding Mark 1, heading downwind in the lead.
Will be fascinating to see if the mindset changes on Emirates Team New Zealand. They literally haven't been behind except for about a minute during that last leg, during that last race.
What do we read into the early jibe, Ken?
Well, it's the same as the first run in the last race. Oracle just being a little bit unstable. They're going to have to get pace on quick, or Emirates Team New Zealand's going to roll over the top. They were clearly unstable coming out of that jibe. That's exactly, you could hear it in his voice. That's what Jimmy Spithill is very fearful of in this new setup that they've pulled out after 5 days in the shed. But then they go. Once they go, they go. But can they avoid that instability?
So the lead minimal for the Americans right now, but they've retrieved the front-running position.
I think the sailing world is looking for a great race right now. I mean, let's have a great race. Let's show these things off the way they should be showed off. Let's get a great race in here. And from all accounts, the start of it looks just like Emirates Team New Zealand just putting the pressure on and rounding the same gate, no split.
So the Americans sailing off into clear water in front of them. Again, the New Zealanders not interested in getting tight, up close and personal in behind. They're going to disappear off with the early jibe.
Well, they were in a tough spot right there. They tacked away because they were in a bit of bad air, that wing wash from Oracle Team USA. So that was kind of a strategic move. They followed him in and split across. And now tactician Tom Slingsby and, well, whoever the tactician is, whether it's Blair Tuke or Peter Burling on board the Kiwi boat, now they have some decisions to make. You know, now the boats are split. Who's going to sail in the better wind pressure? This is where the pressure of the Kiwis is just unrelenting. They just keep it close. They just so rarely make mistakes that it forces you into sailing a perfect race. We've seen teams sail the perfect race against Emirates Team New Zealand. BAR, Freddie Carr sailed an unbelievable race against Emirates Team New Zealand to beat them in that semifinal round.
It takes something special, that's for sure.
How often can you do it?
Just nailing it on the consistency front. But Jimmy Spithill will feel a lot happier at the moment because this is a different complexion, a different dynamic right now. They're just asking one or two questions which haven't really been asked as yet. Looking for the Kiwis to chase them down.
Pretty low.
So let's get another view from out on the water from Freddie Carr, part of the British team out here in Bermuda. Freddie, what's catching your eye in the early exchanges here?
What's catching my eye is a kind of repeat from the first race. The Americans do look quicker from the water. The standout comment off the onboard comms in the first race was the questions about the rudders off Oracle. And I think by changing their rudders, they fundamentally could have got faster through the water. But it must be so hard for Spithill every day to go out sailing with effectively a new feel to the boat. And I think we've seen 2 or 3 bad jives from Oracle today. And maybe that's just him learning the new rudder system, the new board setup under the boat. From this point forwards, they will have to sail a perfect race to keep New Zealand behind them. But so far, so good for the Americans.
So far, so good. There is no doubt about it.
Boiler and 4.
You know, I think the question that everybody has at home is, why didn't they do this before? You know, it's very clearly a faster setup.
And they had that 2-week break while everybody else was scrapping it out in the Challenger playoffs. You would have thought, as you mentioned right at the top of the program, you would have thought that there would be the toy box open, as you like to describe it.
So Freddie, I mean, this is very clearly a different boat. Everybody's in agreement. All the little tweaks they did, everybody's also in agreement that they probably did way more than any of us ever know. But why didn't they do this before last weekend?
I think, in all honesty, Ken, you have to back your design philosophy, your designers, and you get there as a group of designers, but the sailing team have a huge amount of input in that. And they'll have been working towards last weekend for 2 years with strong beliefs in their foil packages. And it must have been a shock to them that they were such a long step behind the Kiwis. They must have hit the panic button a little bit, but like I said, they've made some changes and they are faster through the water. I'm just a little bit concerned with them in the light air jibes. They look a little sticky. They're usually very good at their foiling jibes in the light air, but today they look a little bit sticky.
That's a really interesting point, that the notion of having confidence in what you brought to the table initially, and at what point do you call time on it and go, right, that's not working. We need something else. We need something different.
Well, having that 5-day gap was, if you're an Oracle fan and Oracle Team USA team member, it was a beautiful thing. Now, as we're talking about all this stuff, this boat does not ever go away. You know, we're going to see this next cross, and there's going to be 2 very close boats, both coming into split gates at the top mark.
The Americans with a slender advantage.
Both boats rounding this gate on opposite sides, so the possibilities of wind shifts or wind pressure, making a little more of a game of it on this next run.
1 off, Doc. 1 off. Yeah, copy.
Clean manoeuvring from Jimmy Spithill's crew as they disappear up one side and the New Zealanders heading off in another direction. We just saw a moment or two ago, actually, the wind shift graphic top left of our screen, which suggested that there was a slight shift to the right-hand side of the course.
Two reasonably well-sailed boats with our fly time indicator. Essentially, that means they splash down once, both of them. That's a very good indicator for Oracle Team USA because, as we've been talking about the whole time, the higher speed setup typically makes for more instability. And when you see Oracle Team USA up 100% of the time, for the most part, that is a very good sign for them.
So the lead building here for the Americans. But you just don't get the impression that the Kiwis have had their final throw of the dice just yet.
Falling out of it, 5. Start to soften a little here. Copy. 40 this way. Pretty hot here. Quick one, two.
We're here to talk about the recharge, Ken. I think we need to reiterate, don't we, for those people who perhaps are quite new to the sailing world, that everything that happens on this boat, whether it's dropping the dagger boards, whether it's the angle of the foils, whether it's the trimming of the wing, it all needs power to make it happen. That's what those grinders are doing.
Hydraulic pressure, direct drive into the wing. You see a big wind puff on the horizon right now. Look at the angle differences between the two boats. Team New Zealand down here, Oracle, big angle change going up into it. That's a wind shift. They just don't go away, the Kiwis. That's one thing that split at the top gate did for them. Critical jibe right now for Oracle. One and into the gate. They need one more jibe and into the gate.
We can't get left here. Hold on. 1, 3, 2, 1. A little lighter again.
Very smoothly done, but you know, they went way out towards the ley line here. You wonder if they're overstood. I don't think New Zealand's going to.
They're going to have to maneuver one more time.
They're going to have to do that tough bottom end of the race course maneuver, that one last job. But I'll tell you what, they're diving down, trying to get around this gate. I'm not so sure if Oracle just overstood this mark. Goodness gracious.
Well, that's bold from New Zealand, really bold. And is it going to pay off at this bottom gate? They turn, and they turn in front, and they turn well. And now the Americans are the ones chasing again. And we have a proper race on. Peter Burling, the America's Cup rookie. The details guy, as so many like to describe him. Ice cool, very intuitive. And Jimmy Spithill, the youngest skipper to win the Cup back in 2010. Huge amounts of experience. So where's your money now, Ken?
I'm pretty stunned at that last turn of events. Kiwis just did such a good job staying in the dark water and the wind strength going down that run. Just literally sailed on by, and we'll try to go back and have a good look at whether they overstood that mark on board Oracle Team USA.
So when you talk about overstanding, you're talking about
sailing a longer distance. Yeah, sailing. I mean, there it is. They're sailing a longer distance in this race. You know, that's overstanding. That's sailing too far. The average speeds are almost identical, but when you sail a longer distance, then your VMG gets slower. So that longer distance made a big difference there.
VMG, the boat's velocity relative to the direction of their destination.
God bless you.
So just a couple of legs to go. And the Kiwis sniffing another victory. Maybe smelling a bit of blood, although you would be forgiven for thinking that Peter Burling is simply out for an afternoon drive in his truck.
He's talking about his mode right there, driving fast. They were kind of reaching over the top of Oracle Team USA. This is always a big decision for a tactician. Back in the monohull days, you would have seen Team New Zealand tack with Oracle every time there, but they're thinking about the geometry up the race course. Where's the pressure? Where's the dark water? And how can we possibly do fewer maneuvers compared to the other guy? Because they're taking a bit of a risk by actually splitting off there and not tacking directly with Oracle Team USA as they tacked away.
So the heart's racing a little bit for the Kiwi skipper, even though he's not showing it.
That's as high a heart rate as we've seen on young Peterborough.
I would say so.
That might mean he actually is human.
There is a pulse.
There is a pulse.
We can confirm. But he's obviously just having a little think about what might unfold over the course of the next few minutes here out on the Great Sound.
Again,
because a 5-0 victory really would put them in the box seat. 2 wins away.
You're right, and it's they're winning the geometry battle by allowing Oracle Team USA to tack away, split away there. Again, they took a risk. They came back together and clearly made a nice little game. So just guts on board that boat. Spinell doesn't seem too worked up about it right now, does he?
I think he's letting the others get down and dirty. They're the guys who are really digging in physically.
So from a match racing standpoint, again, this split, these two, the Oracle needs a split right now. So just sailing along next to Emirates Team New Zealand is going to do them no good. They need the other side of the race course, maybe a little bit of a dark water in the upper left-hand side of the race course that they're looking at, but they need something. Desperately, they need 117 meters right now. Little dark water in the upper left-hand side of the race course. That's what they need. They need a wind shift. They need the breeze to possibly go in their favor. Doesn't look super windy on the right side of the race course where the Kiwis is right now.
4, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, mate. Turning. Missing it. Feels like you're turning early, Jimmy. Start the boundary. Good game here, guys. Copy. Bring it in. Your battery's on.
So they wanted to go a little bit wider so they could maybe lay the gate, get in the first time.
Big gain. There's a dial down already happening with Emirates Team New Zealand right now. Look at that dial down. They're really deep.
Nothing in it.
I
the
tell
protest from the USA.
They dialed way down. They dialed low there. This is going to be very interesting. Whether they went too far on their dial down is the big question. It is in Richard Slater's hands right now. No penalty. Now, the boats come back together again. Oracle will be on starboard. New Zealand will be on port. If they get into that left-hand circle on the left-hand mark, they will have right away to get around it. But here we go again. We wanted real racing. We got real racing.
But this is as tight as it gets right now as they head towards gate 5.
Is Oracle dialing down? That's what Burling's saying right now. Can we cross or not?
No, push it down.
And if he dips, will he be able to make this mark in the upper court? Is he going to be able to make that mark after the dip?
Just the closest of passes.
Take it in, boys. Okay.
And the Kiwis are just about going to squeeze in. But look at him.
Just gets around the mark. Barely.
Really low.
Game on, even race. Slight advantage to Oracle right now. They were going quicker around that mark.
The narrow angle on that mark for the Kiwis just meant that their boat speed dropped away to 17 knots or so, while the Americans were able to sustain theirs at around 23, 24 knots.
And they still haven't gotten it back. The Kiwis are still slow, 24, 25. Americans speeding away at 30.
Last downwind leg. 150 meters or so in it, which means that there is every chance still for the Kiwis to claw it back. They won't be happy to see the bows touching the water. They want to be up, foiling, clean, less drag.
30 seconds.
It was that patch in that dark water in the upper left-hand corner that got Oracle back in the game, and their maneuvers have been fantastic this race. We wanted a sailboat race. We got a sailboat race, Ellie.
2. Get it right, Tommy. Happy. Your can's gone, Kinley. Yep. Swimming. Go hard in pitch. Guys, we're driving in 10, okay? Hit it, go to it. Taking this down, Jimmy. Here we go, in 3, 2, 1.
This is tough.
Hold straight, Tommy.
If you ever wanted to drive one of these things, that's effectively what you're doing with the camera on Jimmy Spear's shoulder.
This maneuver, the jibe, double jibe here, and then reach. They're desperate for hydraulic power. You heard him say, hit it, hit it, hit it. Remember, they took Tom Slingsby's bicycle out of the back of the boat that was helping with hydraulics. His weight is forward today. He's actually on a coffee grinder today. There is no bike system. That was all about hydraulic pressure. Give it to the big boys in the front of the boat, pulling off those last two jibes. Really well done.
There are the grinders. There is just never any time for them to settle, to relax. They have to go full bore pretty much for the entirety of the race. But is it about to pay off with the first American victory of the America's Cup match itself? Have they got enough in the tank here to see off the Kiwis?
Dead straight ahead. You see the finish line right in the front of our screen. I'll tell you what, Oracle stays in. You can't give this team a bigger congratulations for just about a shellacking last week to throw everything at this over the last 5 days and come up with a boat that's going this much faster. I myself, as well as just about everybody else in the sailing world, was starting to write them off. And man, oh man, was I wrong. I gotta change my plane flight on Monday.
Well, we want your opinions, we want your thoughts. We don't want you on the fence, but it is looking as if the Americans have done enough here. A performance of real character and resolve and resilience. They're going to hold off the Kiwi challenge. The New Zealanders have been gaining down this reach, but they won't have enough. It is going to be America's race. And the USA are back in business, back in the hunt, and in the nick of time. A vital win, which really breathes life into their alien campaign. There is hope. There is hope in the USA camp. The margin of victory, a small one, but it matters not.
Good work. Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go. There you go.
Whole team effort. And leadership is always a massive part of that, but you can't get enough credit to the entire Oracle Team USA squad, top to bottom, for doing what they have clearly done over the last 5 days. Like I said before, I think all of us thought, how do you pull that off? There was quite a disparity last weekend, and I'm really impressed.
Well, it's been terrific to see the Americans coming back into the picture here today. Another fascinating day on the water, and results, well, a win each for the Kiwis and for the Americans. The New Zealanders now standing with a 4-1 lead. Remember, New Zealand started on -1 point due to the American success in the qualifiers. First to 7 race wins.
What an incredible race from the Americans, and certainly those 5 days of work by the designers and the shore crew and the sailors have certainly paid off. One man who's been watching it all very closely is Sir Ben Ainslie. We've caught up with him here. Ben, what have you made from today, and how impressed are you with Oracle?
Well, I think, like you said, Shirley, Oracle have clearly gone back to the drawing board and made some significant changes to the setup of the boat. And we've seen now in these lighter conditions that they're able to match Team New Zealand in the upwind legs, and that's the first time throughout this whole competition that we've seen any team be able to match them. And so that's, it's credit to Oracle, their designers, sailors, the shore crew working through the night to get the boat back out on the water, and certainly made for some really exciting racing out there. It's fascinating to watch.
You, of course, won the Cup sitting next to Jimmy Spittle 4 years ago. Talk to me a little bit about him and how he'll be feeling here.
Well, Oracle have been in this game for a long time, and Jimmy in particular, and they're very experienced. They've been in this situation before. I think they'll take a lot of positives from today, getting that performance going, getting the speed going. They had a few wobbly moments with the boat handling, which I think is the nature of the changes that they made to the boat. So there's always a trade-off there. Nothing comes for free in this game. But if they can execute, you know, if they can get the starts and they can get particularly those downwind jibes working, then we can see they can win races now and they can take it to the Kiwis. And it's going to be a fascinating day tomorrow in similar conditions.
Ben, you've talked often about this game being one of evolution. You know, how much more can we see? And from your own perspective, of your British campaign, what can you learn from here?
Well, there's always a lot of learnings in this competition. I think this is just a classic America's Cup duel where the teams are still developing through, and we've seen Oracle have been making the biggest jumps in the last 5 days. And you know, as a team, you need to set yourself up to be able to adapt to the situation. And I think that's what both teams have done well through this particular Cup event. And for us, you know, we're continuing on with Land Rover BAR, and we're going to be in a much stronger place now, having an existing team rolling forwards and being the start-up team that we were this time around. And yeah, it's being able to adapt to the situation and get the priorities straight.
Have we seen the start of the Oracle fight back? Well, Oracle certainly aren't resting on their laurels. They're back out for another training session. But I caught up with Jimmy Spittle and Pete Burling before he did. Jimmy, we were right beside the base when you sailed in. I mean, massive applause. How much of a relief was it, not just for you, but for everyone involved in Oracle?
Well, I think for everyone in Bermuda. You know, clearly everyone is cheering for us, and it's great to see that support. The guys lift, but that was a very important race to win.
Give us a bit of a feel of how much effort has gone into the last 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, it's been around the clock. It really has been 24 hours. You know, the sailors have been pushed. We've been having long, long days out on the water. You know, our shore engineering team have been there, you know, on like 24-hour shifts, you know, doing 12-hour cycles. So when we saw the other guys not sailing and taking days off, we were like, okay, here we go. This is an opportunity here. You know, Pete mentioned they were staying ashore so the shore team could work on the boat. Our guys were working on the boat once we got in through midnight. So, you know, when the sailors see that, that's pretty motivating for the guys out there when they jump on board.
You know, it's some great racing. You know, it felt like, you know, it was some really good battle. Obviously, we weren't that happy with how we sailed today. You know, we made a lot of mistakes, but I think at the same time, these guys made a lot of mistakes as well. And, you know, we aren't surprised at all. You know, we've got a good battle on our hands, and that's exactly what we're prepared for. You know, we're under no illusions, so we've got a fair bit of hard work ahead over the next few days to keep improving, keep learning, but we're still on a pretty steep part of that learning curve, and we've got plenty to tidy up after today. You know, I think all of us, you know, feel like we let that last race slip and, you know, had a great opportunity to win that one as well. So for ourselves, you know, we've got plenty to work on today. You know, we didn't sail overly well, but, you know, we're back fighting again tomorrow.
We had a few issues today, you know, from our race software point of view and judgment, but when you make a mistake, what are you going to do? And I think the comeback, you know, for the boys to come back and nail that second start, get the whole package working properly, lost the lead, come back again, that obviously shows the boat's going well, and I think it's a good sign of strength for the guys.
Clearly a massive relief for Jimmy Spittle and his team. That hard work certainly looks like they've put them back in the game. And for Pete Burling, you just wonder if that defeat may have rattled the Kiwi camp. Certainly more drama to come here in Bermuda. Join us, BBC 2, 1 o'clock tomorrow.
It's great to see a bit of fight out of these boys. You know, we'd obviously...
It's only just beginning, mate.